Shalom Aleichem and welcome to Machin Leira Online Smicha. You know there's the great mitzvah of Bרכת Kohanim, that the Kehnim are commanded to the Bרכת Ami Yisrael Ba'ava, and many lofty, beautiful things are said about this bracha. This is a bracha that's specific, this is a mitzvah that's specifically given to a Kohen. The power is to be able to do so, and to bless. And there's instructions how it should be done. The Gemara Masechta Ksubas Daf Chavdal Lamed Beis says, Zar HaNoisei Kappa, one who's not a Kohen, who duchens and does the process of Birchas Kohanim, Oiver al Eser, he transgresses a mitzvah's essay, because the Torah says, Koi Sevarachu, Atem V'loi Zorim, and Lava Abam Beklal Eser essay, and it's brought in Shulchan Aruch in Siman Kuf Chav Beis Sif Aleph. So the question is, if only Kohanim have the right to do Birchas Kohanim, why is it that we find that there are different minhagim at different times in history, or during different times you find that people do bench each other, and even if not a Kohen, many people have the minhag to bench their children Friday afternoon, Friday Shabbos time. People have the minhag to bench their children by a chuppah, even though they're not Kohanim. What happened to this Oiver Be'esei? Only Kohanim have the rights to do this. Now this question, the Bir Halacha, the Mishnah Brura asks in Siman Kuf Chav Ches, and he says, I'm actually shocked on what people do, that they bench each other, whether he's a Kohen or not, and they say the Lashon Yivrachachot. What happened to the Oiver Be'esei? And the Mishnah Brura brings Bach that maybe that the only way it's prohibited is if you raise your hands like a Kohen raises his hands. Since most people just say Yivarechecha and they don't raise your hands, then there's no Isser. But the fact is that we find that those who bench their children Friday, Shabbos, they actually raise their hands and put it over their children. And the Ayvit says that in the Siddur, how for those who do so. So what happened to the fact that Yisrael is not allowed to say Bרכas Kohanim? The Torah Tamima, and the parsha of the Chumash where it speaks about the Bרכas Kohanim, says, he brings testimony that the Gra was very makbetaka not to put two hands. If he ever gave anybody Bרכas Kohanim, he might have put one hand, but never do two hands because of this worry. However, others say, we see that we do it, people do it, and there must be a reason. So the Chassam Sofer in Maseches Ksubas Daf Chav Daled Amud Beis brings two heterim why we find others, even non-Kohanim, do Bרכas Kohanim. Number one, the only way you're not allowed to do it is if you do it in the ways that the Kohanim are supposed to do it. Now, we spoke about raising the hands, and that people do. But there are other instructions, there are other parts to the mitzvah of Bרכas Kohanim that people don't do if they're not Kohanim. And that is, the Gemara Masechta Soita Daf Lamed Ches tells us that from the words Amar Lahem, we learn that the Kohen doesn't start saying the bracha, the Bרכas Kohanim on his own. You have to say it to him, the Chazan, or somebody says to him word for word, and then he repeats and he says the bracha. So since it's not when you bench your son Friday night or you bench your son under the chuppah, you're not necessarily, nobody's telling you what to say, Yivrechecha, Yivrecha, Hashem, Hashem. So therefore, it's missing out that component. Number one. Number two, the other halacha is that a kohen, the other halacha which we find is one kohen doesn't have a mitzvah to do Bרכas Kohanim. It's only when there's more than one, when there's two Kohanim. So since when a father blesses his son, it's one person, there is no problem. But then, Rabbeinu Bechaye says like this, when he talks about the parsha Bרכas Kohanim, he says that the Torah says, Koi Sevaruchos B'nei Yisrael. This is how they should bless the Yidden. Why the Lashon Koi? Because we know that the Kohanim have 24 matnas kuna, 24 presents that they get from Yisrael. This, the mitzvah of Birchas Kohanim, is koi, number 25. This is another present that they get. Why is it a present that they get? They're giving, they're not getting. And the answer is because when they say it, they're meant to say it loud. Why? The Birchas Kohanim has to be said loud. Why should they say it loud? So that we, the receivers, should hear it and respond. And when we respond, Shomeya Ka'ina. So the one who responds is basically giving a bracha back to the kohen. So what they're giving us, they're benefiting, they're also getting a bracha back. So therefore, based on that logic, some say that the kol ram is only done by Birchas Kohanim. When you do it privately, lav dafka, you're doing it in the kol ram. And so there's another loophole how you're allowed to bless your son, your children, even if you're not a kohen.